Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
Many parents in a Fargo neighborhood were surprised to learn that 6 high-risk sex offenders live down the street from an elementary school bus stop.
It may be because they don't show up on the state's map of registered offenders. Valley News Team's Devin Fry dug into the issue.
A tool used by many people to monitor high-risk sex offenders in their area may not give you everything you need to know. The North Dakota Sex Offender Registry map uses icons to show where registered sex offenders live. However, not all are being shown. This was recently discovered when many parents were surprised to learn that 6 high-risk offenders were living in a building just 250 feet away from a bus stop to a local elementary school. The interactive map is provided for free online by the state of North Dakota and is supposed to show you where registered sex offenders have their address listed. Now, yesterday when we contacted Fargo Public Schools about the bus stop concern, they were also unable to locate any sex offenders in that area on the map. So we're going to go ahead and show you exactly what we're talking about now. To find a sex offender near you, you go to sexoffender.nd.gov and type in the address in question. Once you search them, a list of offenders comes up, including the 6 that live at 1122 2nd Avenue South. Once the map comes up, it should have icons showing where these sex offenders live. However, we know 6 live in this address right here, but there's not an icon to be seen. There are numerous apps and websites that you can use in order to see if there are registered sex offenders in your area. Now, while the map provided by the state of North Dakota did not show that those sex offenders were living there, one particularly helpful website we found was FamilyWatchdog. There you can see that on the map they do show the sex offenders living in that area. We reached out to the North Dakota Attorney General's office for a reason why these offenders were left off the map, but were not given an explanation. Reporting from Fargo, Devin Fry, Valley News Live.
We also contacted the Attorney General's office for North Dakota for an explanation. They simply replied with a link back to the map.
Keep a sharp eye out for prowlers ahead of the Labor Day weekend. A West Fargo woman says someone broke into her car and stole a sentimental ring worth $2,000. It happened between Tuesday and Wednesday in the Wilds development in West Fargo. Kayla Rice says the thief didn't do any damage, but took her husband's 2006 championship Red Hawks ring.
Our neighborhood in particular is extremely family oriented, and we have lots of kids running about. And so that immediately was like what made me anxious, was just to know that maybe somebody is out here doing not good things, you know.
Police are working with local pawn shops and online sellers to try to find that ring.
Cass County is not on a list of 8 in the state where the COVID-19 risk level has been raised. The move takes the counties from low to moderate levels. The list includes Barnes, Benson, and Grand Forks in the Valley, along with Williams, Burley, Morton, Stark, and McLean.
We really want to raise awareness and communicate to North Dakotans that an elevated risk level does exist. And there are things that need to happen. If we want to keep our schools open, if we want to keep our businesses open and get them back to operating at 100%, if we want to get back to watching sports live, if we want to get back to going to concerts, there's a lot of things we have to do.
Now, for those counties moving to the moderate risk, the guidance recommendations lower the capacity in bars and restaurants and decreases occupancy at events. And for more details on this, look for this story on the VNL News app.
The tables have turned for North Dakota. 4 months after Governor Burgum mandated quarantine for travelers returning to the state, North Dakota is now appearing on 7 other states' travel restriction lists. Those states are New Jersey, Connecticut, Kentucky, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island, along with Chicago and Washington, D.C. Dr. Anthony Fauci says travelers should be extra careful anyway.
We don't want to see a surge under any circumstances, but particularly as we go on the other side of Labor Day and enter into the fall, we want to go into that with a running start in the right direction. We don't want to go into that with another surge that we have to turn around again.
The World Health Organization recommends a state's 7-day rolling average positivity rate for COVID-19 tests be 5% or lower. North Dakota's positivity rate is about 20%. The state has consistently been above the 10% mark for the past 11 days.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz says people must remain vigilant as positive COVID cases continue creeping up. The governor's news conference today comes after White House COVID-19 advisor Dr. Deborah Birx called Minnesota's rising positivity rates in several counties worrisome. State health officials say 7 more people have died after contracting coronavirus in Minnesota. More than 1,000 additional new cases were reported today, bringing the total to more than 78,000 in the state.
The backyard meetings, the barbecues, families mixing together, not in their immediate family, is driving a lot of what's happening here. And it again, I understand the pain of this. This is the basic social things that make summer so fun. Talking over the fence or sitting around that fire pit making s'mores. But that's exactly the type of thing that we're seeing is having an impact on some of the spread.
Governor Walz adds that Minnesota has stayed at a manageable positivity rate with the number under 5% over the last several weeks, but he points out it's been increasing. Speaking of numbers, let's take a look at a couple more COVID-19 numbers from Minnesota. There have been more than 1,800 deaths in the state due to coronavirus, and more than 70,000 people have recovered. Meanwhile, in North Dakota, there are 360 new cases, along with 2 new deaths in the state. The death toll is at 150. The positivity rate stands at 5.5%.
A federal judge says no, and that means a lawsuit filed by the Standing Rock Sioux tribe over a 5-month closure of Highway 1806 during the Dakota Access Pipeline protests will move forward. North Dakota wanted the case dismissed. The tribe says closing the highway restricted travel and trade and violated their free speech and religious rights. But state leaders say closing the highway was warranted because demonstrators were causing mayhem.
A heads up for those of you heading to the lake this holiday weekend. Researchers say there's a chance that COVID-19 could end up in the water, but not in the way that you might think. Valley News Team's Courtney Lockey explains.
Rob Roberts is heading out the door for the lake this holiday weekend.
My wife would probably divorce me if I didn't have a place on the lake.
It's been the place they go to get out of the house and get away from everything. But researchers at the University of Minnesota Medical School say not so fast. They've been testing Minnesota waters, saying there's a chance the COVID-19 virus could be in the lake. And of all things, human waste.
We're in a pretty low population lake, number one. Number two, I've never suspected anyone of doing that. I'd worry more about the fish doing than I would a human.
Researchers have been testing every weekend since the 4th of July. The virus can be shed in a person's stool a month out from symptoms. And they say it's not uncommon for beaches to be contaminated in this way.
That's something I've never thought of in a lake. Maybe a pool.
I kind of want to do a little more research on that myself before I make any final decisions on my lake trips.
So far, the virus hasn't been found in any samples.
I'm not sure if I'm really worried about someone just crapping the lake a bit. I mean, it's what you're dealing with.
I'm not sure how I really feel about it, if I go to the lake anytime soon or not.
The testing will continue from area Minnesota lakes through September. Courtney Lockey, Valley News Live.
Researchers add that if the virus is found in the water, they do not believe it will be infectious.